Well, welcome to this podcast. This is Dr. Hari Trivikramji, and I'm going to talk to you now about Market Attractiveness Assessment, which may be very relevant for you, especially if you're coming up with a new product in your company and you want to look at different indications, look at the market size, and things like that. So, I will present a set of slides which will make it easy for you to follow what I'm saying along with the podcast. So, if you are working in pharmaceuticals or biotech, at some point you'll face a critical question. Is this market worth pursuing? Whether you're developing a new medicine, evaluating an in-licensing opportunity, or conducting due diligence for an acquisition, you need to know how attractive that market really is. So I'll walk you through the fundamentals of market attractiveness assessment. We'll cover what a pharmaceutical market actually is, how pricing works across different geographies, and the step-by-step process for evaluating whether a market share opportunity is worth the investment. That is the key thing. So I have an agenda here in this slide, which shows the different points I'll be going through. I won't waste time looking at that slide. So when do you actually need to do a market attractiveness assessment? The most common scenario is when you have a new medicine in development. Your leadership team wants to know what's the commercial potential of this product. Is this worth the R&D investment? So you need to look at the market and you will value the product based on what share of the market your product is actually going to achieve. But there are other situations too. You might be looking at in-licensing a medicine from another company. Before you commit to those upfront payment, milestone payments on royalty streams, you need to understand what the market looks like. Or it could be part of acquisition due diligence, where your company is considering buying another biotech or a smaller company, and you need to assess the value of their pipeline. And that means understanding the markets in which those pipeline products are going to be launched in. Now, what is a pharmaceutical market? When you normally say market, at its simplest, it's a place where people buy and sell things. But pharmaceutical markets have some unique characteristics that make them very different from consumer goods. So the pharma companies sell medicines, but patients are not the buyers. They may pay the money, or at least a part of the cost, but the decision makers are the doctors. They have to prescribe these medicines first before a patient can go and buy it. And here's the really important part in most cases. Patients don't pay the full price out of their own pockets. So the insurance pays, the patients covering only a portion through co-pays or co-insurance, or the government pays, like in the UK, the single payer system, National Health Service, paying the full tab of the prescriptions. But this varies dramatically by geography within Europe also. So the UK, but the systems within Europe are more or less very similar, while in the US, it's very different. Then US also has the Medicaid for people of the lower socioeconomic strata and children, and then Medicare for the over 65s, which operate slightly differently. So now, let's look at the United States. In the US, patients typically pay for health insurance through monthly premiums, either directly or through their employers. When they need a medicine, their insurance plan covers most of the cost. So up until recently, the pharmaceutical companies could essentially price their medicines at whatever level the market could bear in the US, or more precisely, whatever the insurance companies would pay for them. It's not quite that simple, of course. I mean, insurers organize medicines into different tiers based on the prices, and the tier determines how much the patient pays out of pocket as copay or as co-insurance. The cheapest generics usually are in tier 1 with the lowest copays. And as you move up the tiers, the copay increases. And with specialty products like biologics, there would be co-insurance, which is a percentage of the total cost of the medicine. It could be like 20 or 25% or 30%. Now, let's cross the Atlantic and look at the UK and the European markets. In the UK, we have a single payer system. The government, through the National Health Service, picks up the tab for medicines. Patients don't pay premiums, and it's funded through taxation. Because the government is paying, they want to make sure that they're getting value for money. And that's where the NICE organization comes in, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. And essentially, the NICE conducts cost-benefit assessments, or cost-effectiveness assessments, or cost-utility assessments. They evaluate how many quality-adjusted life years a patient gains from a medicine. Essentially, they're asking how many additional healthy life years does this medicine provide? And NICE usually uses a threshold of 25 to 35,000 pounds per quality adjusted life year gained. Up until recently, that used to be like 20,000 pounds, but from this April 2026, it's going to be in the range of 25,000 to 35,000 pounds per quality. If a medicine costs more than that to deliver 1 year of quality adjusted life, it's unlikely to get a positive guidance from NICE, which means it won't be used in the NHS hospitals. There are exceptions for rare diseases and oncology, but the principle remains the same. You have to demonstrate value. Now, looking at Germany and France, they take slightly different approaches. There's no direct cost per quality calculation in those countries, but pricing is based on the relative improvement that medicine provides compared to the current standard of care. In Germany, the GBA assesses additional benefit. In France, the HAS evaluates clinical improvement. The key point in these markets is you can't just set whatever price you want, unlike America up until this point. You have to justify your price based on the value of the product. Now, let's look at how you define your target market. So, how to actually assess the specific market applicable to you. So, the first step is defining exactly which market your medicine is meant for. And this is very critical. This means identifying the specific patient types for who this product could be prescribed by a doctor. So, for example, an asthma medicine might not be for all asthma patients. It might be specifically indicated for moderate to severe allergic asthma. That's a subset of a subset. So, the first subset is the severity, and the second subset is whether it's allergic or non-allergic, or the other way around, meaning the first subset could be allergic and non-allergic, and within that you can have mild, moderate, severe, sometimes very severe. So, once you've defined the patient population, you need to determine how many patients that actually represents. And that's an essential part of market sizing. Market size is usually the primary determinant of attractiveness. A larger patient pool generally means more revenue potential. The exception is rare diseases, where small markets can still be highly attractive because of the premium pricing that's possible, because of the orphan drug incentives. The next step that you need to take for doing market attractiveness assessment is to understand which physician specialties are likely to prescribe your medicine. Sometimes it's straightforward. An anti-angina medicine, that's cardiologist, but often it's more complex. A medicine for hypertension may be prescribed by both general practitioners and cardiologists. An anti-anxiety medication might be prescribed by GPs in the UK, by psychiatrists also, and even by some cardiologists. So why does this matter? Because you need to understand the unmet need from each specialty's perspective. This requires primary research, surveying physicians of each relevant specialty. You can do interviews with them. Previously, it used to be in-person interviews. These days, it's mostly telephone interviews, online focus groups, and then you can do online surveys as well. So you want to know how satisfied they are with current treatment options. Where do the existing medicines fall short? What would an ideal new therapy look like? Then you test your target product profile with each specialty. Given this profile, would you prescribe this for which patients? How often? This research can be done, again, like I said before, through focus groups, telephone interviews, or online surveys. Now, the next important step in market attractiveness is pricing research by geography. So now we come to this is a critical element, because even if you know the number of patients in the patient pool specifically, we need to know what kind of price then your product could command in that market. So again, the approach has to vary by market, since pricing is different by geographic market. In the United States, you want to speak with the pharmacy directors and medical directors at health plans. You present them with your target patient population, your expected product profile, potential price scenarios. Then you ask the key questions about each price level. Would the medicine require prior authorization? Which formulary tier? Which is it likely to be placed in? Would there be a co-insurance, or is it just copay? And their answers tell you not just what price is achievable, but what access you will have at each price. In the UK, you would survey different experts, head pharmacists at NHS trusts, clinical commissioning groups, and consultants who have previously worked with NICE, and the questions shift to at different price points and corresponding costs per quality levels. How likely is NICE to issue a positive guidance? In Germany and France, you would speak with hospital pharmacists and consultants who have been involved in pricing and reimbursement decisions. The focus will be, will the medicine be recognized as an improvement over current treatments? What level of improvement do they think the new product is bringing on? And based on that, what reimbursement category and negotiated price is realistic for that product? Now, No market assessment is complete without analyzing the competitive landscape. You need to map out the current competitors, of course. How many are there? What's their market share? Critically, how much patent life do they have remaining? Are there generics coming in? And what are the new products coming in the near future? Then look at the promotional spending. Products backed by heavy marketing investment will be harder to displace. And look forward, what new products are in development. Are there any new mechanisms of action, like what you would call a paradigm shift on the horizon, like gene therapies or a CAR T therapy that could fundamentally change how the disease is treated? Essentially, such treatments take patients off the patient pool. The market essentially shrinks. And now don't forget generics. If major branded competitors are going off patent in the next few years, that changes the competitive dynamics entirely, and the market attractiveness is impacted negatively. Now, let's go through the last step. Essentially, is you can build up the forecast. You can build up the market, and then you can, if you want, build up the forecast as well. So once you've gathered all this information, the market size, physician perspectives, pricing potential, competitive dynamics, bring all those together into a forecast model. Essentially, as dynamic spreadsheet-based model that integrates your thinking, your analysis based on your research. And the model could generate a revenue forecast and ultimately even a valuation for the medicine. I'm actually putting a forecasting process at the end of this market attractiveness. Just market attractiveness could be just setting up the market based on the market size, looking at potential pricing, and coming up with the total market revenues possible. But you could add a forecast onto that quite easily. It's like a plugin. So let's recap what we've covered today. Market attractiveness assessment is essential whenever you're making significant investment decisions. So whether it's continuing development of a product, go no go decisions, phase 1 to phase 2, phase 2 to phase 3, etc. In licensing, out licensing, when you want to know the value of your product that you're trying to out license, or when you're acquiring a company, or it could be a development partnership, then you need to come up with the upfront payment, milestones, and royalties to take into that deal. The process involves understanding how pharmaceutical markets work in your target geographies, precisely defining your patient population, and sizing the market. And then researching the unmet need and the physician prescribing intent. Physician prescribing intent is going to be based on the unmet need, of course. And then you look at achievable pricing and market access. Analyzing the competitive landscape is one of the final steps. And then you could integrate everything into your forecast model. Now, we do these projects regularly for our clients. Depending on your specific geographic requirements and the level of detail you need, we can scope and execute these assessments very successfully. If you have questions about anything I've discussed today, or you'd like to explore how we can help with your market attractiveness assessment, please feel free to reach out by messaging us. And thank you for listening to this. Until next time, thank you very much.